Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale. Up to 50% off the limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery with the purchase of any smart bed. Ends Monday. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
That's right.
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us, AFR. Presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
Chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
You so. And Mr. Toby Tom Play. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there, make it a good one. Tigers were on the practice field. Saints and Jags played a game yesterday. They tied. Saints traded a defensive lineman. We're going to get to watch a scrimmage in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night. Crazy. Ton to do. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Tigers practice Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. Media not allowed to attend. They were back on the practice field on Monday. The most important thing I can tell you from Saturday's scrimmage is there were no injuries. As I was told, no significant injury whatsoever to any starter, second team, or rotational platoon guy. So first and foremost, that's what you want coming out of any type of scrimmage or practice less than 2 weeks from the opener. So the Tigers got that. After Saturday's scrimmage, Tigers had a recovery day on Sunday, and then they were back on the practice field Monday. We, media, got to watch about 15 minutes of practice. And normally 15 minutes, especially at the beginning, you just don't see very much. It's a lot of, individual group work, calisthenics, just loosening up a little bit. This, however, was very eventful, 15 minutes, not because of all they did, but because of what we saw. And I want to dive into this as we start here. I will tell you there has been a change. We were supposed to get practice access Tuesday and meet Brian Kelly afterwards. That was going to be the end of our availability. They've changed that. We will not have access Tuesday. We will talk to Brian Kelly. We will not have access Thursday or Friday. But they are going to let us watch Saturday night at 7:30 in Tiger Stadium, which is wild to think that we're going to get to watch this team scrimmage a week before the opener. So I'm pumped about it. It's a big change for tomorrow, but it'll be great for Saturday. We'll look forward to it. Monday, however, there was a really, right when we walk in the doors, and they're at the indoor facility, helmet, shoulder pads, girdles, so they were not in full pads. So really intense scrimmage on Saturday, recovery day Sunday. They were back at it Monday, helmet, shoulder pads in the indoor. And right when we walk in, they start the practice customarily with an offensive ready period, is what Joe Sloan calls it. And it's just they're running a no huddle, almost like hurry up, no huddle drill, just on the ball, go, 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 just a tempo period against air. And the first thing that you notice is there was a change on the offensive line. And the 5-star freshman, Carius Kern, was running first team right tackle. Now, I want to remind you that Kern was the 5-star number 1 interior offensive lineman in the country. He showed up in spring ball and was immediately working as the second-team left tackle. Now, this is a guy that's listed at 6'5", 320 and can do a backflip. So if you're worried about the athleticism, the athletic ability to play tackle, I don't think they're worried about that. I think he's got plenty of it. But this is the first time that we have seen him play on the right side. So here you are less than 2 weeks from the opener, and a true freshman is getting reps the first team at right tackle. Now, they ran that hurry-up period, then they had a scout look, so it was the first offense against a scout look defense, and Kern ran a few plays with the ones, and then Weston Davis rotated in and finished with the ones. For what it's worth, Davis was running with the twos in that no-huddle period. So I don't know that we should read too much into this, but it does affirm something Brian Kelly told us on Friday. Remember, I asked Brian Kelly because there's been a lot of rotation in this fall camp. And I asked him on Friday, is there a point where you start to name starters and pare down the reps? Because typically you want there to be competition, then you identify your starters, you want your starters to get all the reps. So I asked him, are you going to name starters and start to pare this down?
No, I want to continue the competition. I think it brings out the best in everybody, and some of our areas of concern last year were that we didn't have any depth and we didn't have that competition and we couldn't keep the, a sharpness, if you will. And so we're going to continue to keep the reps in a manner that allows competition for all players.
True to his word. The first time we got to look at him after that comment, they're out there with a new starting offensive line. I don't know that I'm going to read too much into this. It could very well be they just want to get Kern reps on the right side as a platoon in case if someone goes down, they have to shift, that he's actually taking reps on the right side. Maybe Kern is the sixth lineman, like he'd be the first tackle to go in if something happened. I don't know. We'll have an opportunity to talk to Brian Kelly on Tuesday, and I can ask him that question. But that competition and rotation is clearly still happening. And I also want to remind you, a little more than a week ago, we spoke to Joe Sloan. I believe it was Friday before last. And I asked Sloan to give an assessment of the offensive line. I left it intentionally very open-ended. I said, give me your assessment of the offensive line. This is what he said.
Obviously, have a lot of competition at guard. And I think you're seeing flashes of different guys daily who are playing really well. I think our tackles, the two guys coming into spring, where those two guys are going to be first-year starters. And I think definitely when you watch, they have been excellent. Excellent in terms of their growth, right? They got to keep coming. They got to get better every day. But I've been really pleased with what they've done. And I think Braylon's played extremely good at center. And I think we have a couple other guys who could, we have some depth at center, which is nice. And then I think, you see some of the young guys who are now starting to come on. I think this is the second half of camp where you'd like to see some of the freshmen or second-year players start to push and take that next step and challenge some of the guys that maybe are in front of them right now.
That is a pretty all-encompassing bite, no? He said there's competition to guards. Braylon established himself at center, and some of the younger guys are pushing here in the second half of camp. True to form, there's Karius Kern. What's interesting is he talked about the tackles. He's like, the tackles have been excellent in their growth. And up until this point, we had only seen Tyree Adams at left and Weston Davis at right. It really felt like three of those jobs were solidified. And here you are less than 2 weeks before the opener, and there might be a little bit of a shakeup. So something we'll ask about and we'll watch as we move through this week, the final week before they are into game week for Clemson. A couple of other tidbits from Monday's workout. Nussmeier has ditched the sleeve on his left knee. You'll all be very pleased to know. He was out there in tights, though, purple tights, but no sleeve on the left knee. Apparently the patellar tendonitis that is the aggravation, or as Kelly said, he pissed it off. Apparently it's no longer pissed off. That's good. Obviously of note, when we looked at the defense, there was no Harold Perkins. I was told after practice it is not injury-related. I was not given an explanation, only that it is not injury-related. But Perkins was not there today, and that's obviously notable. Jordan Gilbert replaced him with the first team at Star. Also, Whit Weeks was there, but was not participating. He was in a helmet, jersey, athletic shorts, gym shorts, and tennis shoes. So whenever the first team defense was going, first team defense against a scout offense, he was standing back at the goal line, basically looking at the back of the defense, taking, mental reps with his helmet on, but was not participating. Brian Kelly said last week, load management for guys like Nuss and Weeks. I'm not going to have him practice 5 days in a row, he said. So You want to give him a day off? Fine. Just have him ready to go against Clemson. Michael Van Buren had on his throwing hand, had his index finger and his middle finger taped together. Again, we didn't get to speak to anybody, so no explanation given. But Colin Hurley, Michael Van Buren. If you combine him, you get Colin Van Hurley. But Colin Hurley took the reps with the twos. And anything else? This was how the first defense lined up, for whatever it's worth. And this changes so fluidly. But today, when they went first team defense against a scout offense, look, this was your first team defense. Your tackles were Dom McKinley and Jacobian Guillory. Your ends were Jack Pyburn and Gabe Relaford. Your linebackers were West Weeks and Devon Keys, obviously with no wit. Jordan Gilbert was at the star. Your first team corners were Mansour Delane and P.J. Woodland. And then your safeties were A.J. Halsey and Tamarcus Cooley. Your second defense was on the interior, Ahmad Bro and Bernard Gooden. Your ends were Jamari Butler and Patrick Payton. Your linebackers were Zach Weeks and Tylen Singleton. CJ Jim Coyley was at star. He wears number 31. He is a unit. Wait until you, I get he's a freshman. He's not going to play much. But wait until you see 31 in the uniform. You're going to be impressed. Your corners were DJ Pickett and Ashton Stamps. And then your safeties were Deshaun Spears and Javen Toviano with the twos. So, and that could have been completely different the next time they went team period, because we've seen so much rotation when they've gone, first 11 on defense. They've rotated so fluidly and so freely, but that's how it lined up today. Okay, there's a quick Monday practice report from out on the Ponderosa. Our show open every day is brought to you by Bud Light, the official beer of the LSU Tigers, and I'm thrilled to announce the new Bud Light aluminum bottles. The LSU bottles are here. If you're watching, got them here on set with me. It is to honor LSU wearing white jerseys at home. So it is a white bottle with, of course, the Tiger head logo and the Tiger Stretch claw and stripes on the bottle. They look awesome. They got the cans as well, but the 16-ounce aluminum bottle, the 12-ounce cans, you're going to be tailgating. Make sure you're drinking the official beer of the LSU Tigers in those LSU officially licensed Bud Light LSU cans and aluminum bottles. You can get them starting today at great local retailers all around town. So drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of the Tigers. All right, it's after further review, y'all. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back. Monday show is brought to you by Relief Windows. When we come back, Saints Jags. What do they say? A tie is like kissing your sister or something like that? That's kind of what I don't even understand that. How does that make sense? A tie is like kissing your sister.
It doesn't at all.
I mean, like that's incestuous.
A
tie isn't incestuous.
Like, exactly by the definition,
yeah.
It's incestuous.
It just kind of like sucks.
I guess that's why, because tying sucks. I don't know.
No, I'm saying tying sucks. I wouldn't say kiss. I'd say kissing your sister is gross and
wrong
and abhorrent and terrible in every way. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I'll give you some takeaways from the Saints-Jags sister kissing contest yesterday at Save Art.
After further review.
Wednesday is the day. Oh, I got a sneak peek. But Wednesday is the day. Earlier today, phone rang. Saw Darren James on the caller ID. Naturally, I answered it. Wednesday is the day the new Agent225.com launches. Oh, yeah. You want to talk about the next generation of how you're going to shop for your home on the website, how you're going to list your home? Agent225.com. Oh, you better familiarize yourself with it. You better bookmark it. If you're buying or selling, it already was the most user-friendly website in real estate, and Darren just continues raising the bar. The new Agent225.com is coming later this week. So call Darren or log on in a few days to Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and we do shutters too.
Run it and use a timeout. No, they'll throw it. It's popped and it's picked. That's why you run it. Still alive. and it ends in a tie.
That's why you run it. That's a preseason game, Joe.
He's not wrong, though, man.
No,
I mean,
he's
look,
not wrong.
These reps matter for everybody, Matt. Coaches, like play callers. I mean, clean it up.
By the way, how about Cam Little hitting a 70-yarder last?
That's insane.
Like, when you watched him kick at Arkansas, you knew, like, Arkansas stunk, but that guy just kicked the mess out of the football. And you just knew it was setting up for Cam Little to go drill like a 60-yarder. I think they said where they were. They were in line for like I think he was right 57 or 60, right around there. He would have had a shot at the win, but Jonas Sanker comes up with the interception. By the way, Jonas Sanker, how about a little presence of mind? Watch the clock. Get down or get out of bounds so you give yourself a chance to kick it. I know everybody's complaining like that he should have had 1 second left. They reviewed it. I don't care. Get out of there, whatever. The result. Bottom line is the result of the game doesn't matter. I thought Jonas Sanker actually was very good. He's one of my notes. The results of the game in a preseason, they don't matter. The results are irrelevant. Preseason is all about getting a look. It's about getting reps. It's about individual performances. You don't game plan for a preseason game. You're not showing anything. You are intentionally vanilla. This is a glorified scrimmage to find out who's going to make your football team. It's just another piece of evidence. I have some takeaways that I want to get into. It is important to note, Jacksonville played their starting offense, and so actually their starters on both sides of the ball at the onset of the game. So the fact that they outrushed New Orleans like 200-47 in the first half, outgained. I don't care. I mean, they wanted to get Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. and ETN reps. Okay. You had a couple of third downs in that first possession. They converted them, throwing to their tight end. They probably would have been flawless scoring there with Lawrence, but for the offensive lineman stepping on his foot and then Lawrence fumbling a snap that Vernon Broughton recovered, which was cool to see. But that part of it, I'm not as concerned with. I'm more impressed that in the second half, when it was your backups against their backups, your guys trying to make the team against their guys trying to make the team, your defense pitched a shutout. You realize that? Saints defense pitched a shutout in the second half of this football game. And they got 3 takeaways. The Lawrence fumble there at the beginning, and you got a couple of interceptions in this ball game as well. So I thought that was really encouraging. I know everybody is going to start with the quarterbacks. Fine, we can go there. It was almost a role reversal from a week ago where Tyler Shuck played the second half, had the better stats, the more explosive plays, also had the pick six. Rattler in the first half was very underwhelming. It just inverted this week. Shuck was very underwhelming in the first half. Rattler had the big plays, threw for just a hair under 200 yards, had the touchdown, had the costly interception. I loved the 2-minute drive by Spencer Rattler at the end of the football game to tie it with the 2-point conversion. I absolutely hated the interception in the red zone at the 13-yard line when you had a chance to get points right there. Tyler Shuck led a drive that ended in a field goal where maybe they get a touchdown, but he throws a pass to Chris Olave that Olave drops down around the 10, 12-yard line. You got to make that play. And I would imagine Chris Olave makes that play 99 times out of 100. But in that situation, it meant the Saints settled for a field goal instead of maybe a touchdown. After the game, Kellen Moore was asked about Spencer Rattler and his performance against Jacksonville. Here's what he said.
I think that was a big moment and opportunity for him to have that great drive going down the field. You throw an interception and have to respond, and he responded really, really well. Put the team in excellent position, did a great job with situational football in that 2-minute drive. His ability to play with his feet, came up in a number of situations. And I just thought our guys did a really good job in that 2 minutes just handling and understanding what the situation was.
He's right. In that 2-minute drive, you overcame 2 penalties. Seth Green, the tight end, had a really nice, strong hands reception. Rattler had a beautiful scramble on that play. It was the play where they reviewed, where he dove forward. They reviewed it and let the play stand where it was. Of course, Dante Pettis, the touchdown reception was gorgeous, catching the ball around the 5 and then powering his way up the field into the end zone. And then the 2-point conversion, the play wasn't there. Rattler showed his ability to make a play with his feet, getting around right end and getting in the end zone to tie the game. So there was a lot to like there in that. for me, I'll tell you my biggest takeaway, I think. I keep looking for, I've repeated this a bunch, and I'll keep saying it. I keep looking for foundational players. Like, can we find guys that are potential starters, guys that you could build a foundation on for the future? And like, I look at someone who continues to pop like Danny Stutzman. He just keeps flashing on the screen. 5 more tackles. He had a pass breakup as well. And the other one that I thought was awesome was Jalen Ford. Jalen Ford ended up with 4 tackles. He had the gorgeous interception. He had a TFL as well. And by the way, Jalen Ford, his PFF grade, and again, PFF, I get just a metric. It's not the metric. Sometimes I look at PFF, though, to say, like, does that confirm or disconfirm what I think my eyes saw? So, like, I'm looking at 53 on the field who looks like an action figure, in like an old starting lineup action figure in the uniform. I'm looking at 53. He looks awesome. I go look at PFF. His grade was a 90.5. The only player on the entire team that had a higher PFF grade was Rajon Wright, who had a 92.1. By the way, the Jonas Sanker interception at the end of the game, that was caused by Rajon Wright breaking the ball up and it floated in the air that Sanker was able to pick it off. So, love to see that. The flip side of it is, I thought DeMarco Jackson really struggled. He looked like he was always a step slow, out of the play, missing tackles. Lo and behold, DeMarco Jackson was he tied with Colin Saunders as the lowest graded players on the entire team at PFF with a 29.9. Like, I think you are starting to identify future starters on that defense. I think Jonas Sanker is a guy who just looks like he has a different level of speed closing to the football. And you can tell a lot of times, it's almost like, if you want the comp, like if you go watch a high school game on a Friday night, sometimes you're watching a bunch of like high school guys run, and then there's one guy on the field that just is playing at a different speed. Okay, that guy's the Division I guy. And then you go watch a college football game, and it's like there's one guy who makes everyone else look like they're moving in slow motion. You're like, yep, well, that's Leonard Fournette, right? That's the guy that's going to be the top 10 draft pick. Or that's Will Campbell. And the same thing is true whenever you watch preseason. Like, you're watching a bunch of guys, and a lot of them are going to be, cut, practice squad, selling insurance next week. And then there's guys who are Sunday players. And Jonas Sanker looks to me like a Sunday player, like a guy that's going to make the team and be an impact guy and a potential starter down the line. Same with Danny Stutzman, same with Jalen Ford. So I like the fact that it looks like you've hit on some of those guys that could be key guys for you in the future. Some of the big plays, Mason Tipton, 45-yarder. He was your highest graded offensive player, the 45-yard reception from Rattler. How about Trayton Welch, the 28-yarder from Tyler Shuck? That was the one on the right sideline where Shuck put it up. Welch went up, tight window, made the play, came down hard, kind of got hurt coming off the field. But 2 really nice plays there by a couple of guys. I know there's going to be so much concentration on the struggles of the offense in the first half, and people are going to zero in on Tyler Shuck. And I'm not saying that he's immune, but for whatever it's worth, Shuck was the second highest offensive grade on PFF behind Tipton. Shuck's grade was a 74.3. But he had no pass protection. I mean, the first series of the game, they run the ball. On second down, he gets sacked. On third down, he's about to be sacked again. He gets rid of the football, throws it right at Cesar Ruiz. By the way, Ruiz is the one who olayed that block. That, for me, is the bigger problem right now, is you have so much invested in this offensive line by way of draft picks and draft capital, and they're just not any good. Now, there was no Eric McCoy. I mean, there's a gigantic chasm of a difference between Torricelli Simpkins III, who's starting at center right now, who's never even played center, who's a guard at South Carolina, and Eric McCoy, right? I mean, it's just a dramatic upgrade. And then obviously with no Trevor Penning, it was Dylan Radden's former second-round pick who you signed in free agency, started last game at right tackle, now is at left guard, replacing Trevor Penning with the injury. So let me see what week 1 looks like when you have all of your starters in there and how much better this line may look. But it's the same thing as we talked about last year. It's really hard to judge when you have such a leaky offensive line, and they just have to be better. They have to be. You've invested so much draft capital into that unit. It just has to perform. The other note that I wrote down was about running back. I think Kendre Miller continues to look really, really good running the football. You could see the ability and why they liked him so much. 6 carries for 21 yards, his long of 13. He had another 12-yard run negated because of a holding on Torricelli Simpkins. but that was maybe his most impressive run of the day that got negated. And then Clyde, the catch Clyde made on the sideline in the third quarter when he got upfield and like plowed over some cat, that's the type of thing, that play and the 11-yard reception he made, like that play and his blocking ability are why I think Clyde's going to make this team over Cam Akers. If you're going to keep three, it's going to be Kamara, it's going to be Kendra, and I think it's going to be Clyde at this point. Not only because of his ability to run hard. I mean, listen, if you're an NFL running back, you can run hard, you're fast, you're athletic. We know Clyde can catch the ball out of the backfield, and they love to throw the ball to the backs. But his ability to run block and to pass protect, I think, are a differentiator for Clyde right now because you are really struggling up front to protect your young quarterbacks. And if you have to have another layer of protection, that guy is the best pass-blocking running back that you have. Now, how would he factor in on game days? I don't know, but it is something worth considering, and probably why Clyde has a little bit of a leg up right now to make this team. So they tie 17 all. In an efficient day, an error-free day largely for Tyler Shuck, a more explosive day for Spencer Rattler, although it did come with the big turnover. After the game, Kellen Moore was asked, "Can you play number 4, please?" about if they've narrowed down the quarterback competition. Naturally, he's not going to say much.
Have you narrowed this quarterback battle down to Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck?
We're just going to keep building through this process. And, we think we got 3 really good ones here, and we'll continue to build.
Obviously, Hayner's not a part of this at all. He didn't play. I think the fascinating thing is normally when you get to that third preseason game, they treat it like the fourth preseason game. It used to be where you don't play anybody. Well, this is one of those instances where I think you look and you say, your young guys have to get reps. Every rep is so valuable for these guys. So how do they handle it? Do they flip it again, let Rattler start and get him the first half, Shuck the second half? Like, how do they do it for the third preseason game? Because you're ticking down to the opener now. You play the third preseason game this weekend, then you're off the following weekend, and then you play week 1, September the 7th at home against Arizona. So I understand working through the process, but this process likely will extend into the regular season by the way things are going right now. But a lot of growth and just more evidence of what's happening. I'm going to continue to say this over and over again. I know people don't like to hear it. I am not expecting anything from this team by way of a win-loss record. I think they're probably a 5-12 football team. I think they can win week 1, by the way, against Arizona. But I am more interested this season in identifying foundational pieces for the future that you can build around. I think you're starting to identify some of those in particular on the defensive side of the ball. All right, our show every day on Mondays are brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows door siding. Oh, yeah, they do shutters as well. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back. We will wrap up our SEC fall previews. We'll take a look at Boomer Sooner. Parker Thune will be with us next on AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. You've been injured in an accident. It's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. Get Gordon and get it done. By the way, the Get Gordon Billboard Design Competition is back. You can win up to $2,000 in prizes and a donation to charity of your choice, and also see your billboard all over the state. How about that? It's Gordon McKernan's Billboard Design Contest. It's the 3rd year they've been doing it. You can go to getgordon.com to learn more. Getgordon.com. You see the big Billboard Design Competition logo right there. It's also on all their social medias, all the rules and regs and everything you might need there. Go to getgordon.com. Getgordon.com. Get creative. Design your billboard. Have some fun with it. Remember, if you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. Get Gordon and get it done. Go to getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and we do shutters too.
One more stop on our Fall Camp preview tour, taking a look at all of LSU's SEC opponents. We head into Norman, Oklahoma, as the Sooners try to bounce back after a disappointing year last year under Brent Venables. Parker Thune, good enough to join us. He's from OU Insider, part of the On3 Rivals Network, to give us the deets on OU. Parker, we appreciate it, man. How are you?
Not bad at all, Matt. How are you doing?
Fantastic, man. We got football this weekend, and I'm fired up for it, as I'm sure everyone listening is. OU is a really fascinating team for me, man. They were 500 a year ago, but, man, there's a ton of brimming optimism around the Sooners this year that they're going to have a bounce-back year. Do you think that optimism of having this team ranked top 15, pretty much consensus, is justified?
Man, it's hard to say. It really is, because there's very little with which you can judge this team when you're talking about empirical data from a year ago, just because so much has changed. There's a lot of continuity on the defensive side of the ball. They bring back 8 of 11 starters on that side. So you expect, especially with Brent Venables taking the reins and calling the shots, that it's going to be one of the best units in the country. But offensively, you just have no idea what you're getting. Yeah, John Mateer was fantastic at Washington State a year ago, but that's Washington State. The level of competition that he was facing, playing what was in essence a Mountain West schedule last year versus now stepping into the fire, playing an SEC schedule. You're talking about 2 entirely different levels of competition there. What I think benefits him is he obviously has a ton of familiarity with the system that he's going to be playing within, because his former offensive coordinator at Washington State, Ben Arbuckle, also made the move over to Oklahoma. And so those two are going to be largely responsible for what OU fans hope will be a bit of an offensive revolution around here. But it's still really hard to say, because I think coming off 6-7 for the second time in 3 years, which is not the norm around here, I think plenty of folks are just wanting to see it before they believe it, even though there has been so much hype nationally for this team.
Yeah. It's such a weird about face from a team that was so good offensively under Lincoln Riley, and the question was always, could they find defense? Now that's sort of inverted, not actually that dissimilar from LSU for a lot of years. But, we know John Mateer is there. And the storyline a year ago were all the injuries among the receivers. Well, Nick Anderson and Bauer Sharp are now at LSU. Have there been fall camp standouts on the offensive side that people think, like names we need to know that are surrounding John Mateer on that offense?
Yeah, absolutely. Arkansas transfer Isaiah Satania is a guy that folks that pay attention to SEC football may be familiar with. Had a pretty solid 3-year stint with the Razorbacks. Since making the move over to Oklahoma this offseason, he's been phenomenal. He's really emerged to the best of my knowledge and talking with folks within the program that have been privy to the day-to-day happenings on the practice field. He's been John Mateer's most reliable target. Now, you have Deion Burks, a Purdue transfer that played at Oklahoma last year but dealt with injuries throughout. He's fully healthy. The expectation is he's going to take a step up in terms of target share and production. And then in the backfield, man, I think everybody is well aware of the other big-time transfer addition that Oklahoma made this offseason, bringing in Jaden Ott from Cal, who is 1 year removed from a 1,300-yard campaign for the Golden Bears and a first-team Pac-12 selection back in 2023. So outside of those guys, I would say one guy I'm really eager to see, just based on the excitement level that there seems to be within the program about this guy and what he's done on the practice field so far in fall camp, is sophomore wide receiver Ivan Carrion out of Odessa, Texas, He saw a little bit of action for Oklahoma a season ago, caught 7 passes in the bowl game, but has really, really impressed over the last couple of weeks in particular. And what's unique about him is he's 6'6", one of the tallest wide receivers in all of college football. So if you have a guy with that type of catch radius that can separate and make plays downfield, which is what everyone is saying Ivan Carrion has really unlocked in his game this offseason, that could be a major X factor for Oklahoma in the passing game.
He's Parker Thune on Twitter at Parker Thune, Thune, from OU Insider, part of the On3 Network. Last year, OU finished 29th nationally in total defense. Is the expectation it'll be similar or better?
I think the hope is that it'll be better. The expectation, the modest expectation, is that it's going to be similar. Yeah, you lose Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman, and Ethan Downs, all three of whom are on NFL rosters now. But you bring in guys like Marvin Jones, the former 5-star recruit, Florida State transfer, who had 4.5 sacks last year for the Seminoles. Peyton Bowen, a former 5-star recruit, gets to step into a full-time starting role at strong safety. And then in Stutzman's stead, you have a guy that has been well-groomed to take over the reins of that middle linebacker position in Kobe McKenzie, a redshirt junior. And so with some of the additions that Oklahoma made, some of the true freshmen on that side of the ball that look like they're ready to make an early impact, including freshman cornerback Cortland Guillory, who has been maybe the superstar, the talk of the town throughout fall camp to date. I think it's safe to say that if Oklahoma doesn't do at least as well defensively as they did a season ago, folks around here are going to be disappointed.
If they don't, Parker, the only thing that I look at with OU is the schedule. You know this is coming because it's the thing that you can't talk about OU without looking at. Man, and I just don't know how they navigate it. Let's start with week 2 against Michigan. The game's in Norman. It's going to be a night game. Everyone, like the whole country, will be watching. It'll be maybe the biggest game of that entire weekend. When the conversations are happening in OU circles and they talk about that game, what's the narrative around that game right now?
I think it's kind of viewed as the fulcrum of the season in a certain sense. The early litmus test, obviously, you're going to be facing a top 20 opponent in week 2. It feels like a must-win game for Brent Venables and this program, and the game that's also going to tell you a lot about what actually reasonable expectations are for this team throughout the rest of the 2025 campaign. Because if they come out and they pummel Michigan, if they win that game by 20 points or something, then I think it validates a lot of the offseason talk about what this team could be and the type of rebound they could have even within the confines of a very competitive SEC. However, if they lose that game on their home field, then I think, yeah, you're only 2 games into the season at that point, but I think you have a lot of folks locally and nationally feeling as if, oh, well, same old OU that we saw in 2024. You can forget about them.
It really feels like, Parker, OU's got to start 5-0. Because I'm sure you've talked about it a ton. The 7-game stretch to finish the season is I don't know that anybody has a stretch like this. Texas, at South Carolina, Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Bama, Missouri, LSU. When you look at that slate, what do you see as far as what they have to do to navigate that slate realistically?
Yeah, well, that Texas game, Matt, every single year, that Texas game is the game that the entire season seemingly hinges upon. If they roll into that game 5-0 and they have a ton of momentum, and you're looking at a Texas team that maybe they don't win in week 1 against Ohio State, maybe they already have a loss. Maybe they go on the road to Florida early in the season, Gainesville, and drop that one. And so then Texas has I would say Texas has a stiffer 5-game stretch leading into that game. Oklahoma has an easier one, but their schedules kind of flip-flop on the second half because Oklahoma's closing stretch is killer and Texas's seems a lot easier on paper. And so Oklahoma, I think you're right. They have to start 5-0. I think it would suit them well. It's not a must-win game, but if they go and beat Texas, that has you feeling a lot better about this team's ability to navigate that closing stretch throughout the second half of the season. Missouri and Tennessee, those feel like the games you got to win because the consensus expectation, at least from where I stand, the people I've talked to, is that those 2 programs aren't going to be quite as good as they were last year. And then Ole Miss, Alabama, LSU, games like that, man, I think obviously with the schedule being as tough as it is, if you're looking at a playoff path for Oklahoma, 9-3 might do it. And so you don't have to win all of those games by any stretch of the imagination in order to give yourself a taste for the CFP committee on Selection Sunday. But I feel like you do have to have a statement somewhere along the line. Whether that is LSU the final week of the season, whether that is Texas, or maybe that is beating Alabama for a second straight season, this time in Tuscaloosa. There's a number of different ways it could break down, but it feels like Oklahoma's going to need that statement win at some point.
But it would be great theater November 29th if LSU makes its first trip to Norman and both teams maybe have a playoff berth hanging in the balance. It'd be a lot of fun if it ends up that way. We'll see as we get closer. Parker Thune, hey, man, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much, man.
Absolutely. I'll take it easy.
It's our pleasure. OU Insider, they're part of the On3 Network. Get them on Twitter at Parker Thune, Thune. We appreciate that. OU is, to me, the definition of a team that's probably going to be better than they were last year. I don't know if the record shows it just because of the schedule. If Brent Venables successfully navigates that slate, I mean, there will be no more questions about Brent Venables and his ability at OU, because that is a brutal stretch for anybody with just no breather. All right, it's after further review. We're brought to you by Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. That's me and Terrio and Richard Tilley and Joe Morales and Trent and our whole crew over at Parish Construction and Roofing, commercial or residential. Saw yesterday in our group chat there was a major hail event right in the center of New Orleans yesterday on Sunday. If that was you, if you have had hail, think you might have had damage, let us come give you a free, no-obligation roofing inspection. We'll come check it out. Again, we'll never charge you for an inspection. You get a full, detailed inspection report. So maybe next time when you do have damage, you can always compare it to your prior inspection report. We can help you through the entire thing. Roof repairs, replacements, commercial, residential. We do gutters. We do soft washes. We do it all. It's Parish Construction and Roofing. Parishbuilt.com. Parishbuilt.com. All right, y'all, it's after further review. We'll knock out a quick break. Man, the future of LSU's quarterback situation after 2025 still hanging in the balance, and you can't help but shake your head after the news that came out of Syracuse, New York on Monday. I'll tell you what that is when we come back on AFR.
AFR.
Action Industries is a proud partner of LSU Athletics. Action, INDINC.com. Action, INDINC.com for Action Industries Incorporated. You know, it's been my pleasure to tell you now for a couple of years about Action Industries because of all the amazing work that they do. Pipe, structural steel, pressure vessels, which, of course, not everyone does. When it comes to their pipe manufacturing, they fabricate in separate shops, alloy and carbon steel. The two sections, they're segregated. They're ASME certified vessel manufacturer. They issue all three stamps, RSU. They have them all. And they offer food-grade fabrication as well. One of the largest coffee brands in the world uses Action Industries. And if you have that mega project going on, they can supplement if you're short on skilled labor. They can supplement your mega projects. It's Action Industries. Check them out online. Action Industries, proud partner of LSU Athletics.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. And we do shutters too.
All right, wrapping up hour number one. Glad you're hanging on with us here. Could Coach O about to be returning to football? We'll get to that after SportsCenter about 10 minutes from right now. If you missed our LSU football practice report, that was in the show open. You can always catch AFR On Demand presented by Breck Golf. Book your tee time at golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org. On-demand audio, video, YouTube podcast. Just search AFR LSU. You can get today's practice report. Ever since Bryce Underwood flipped to Michigan, and I don't always mean to default to that, but that created a domino effect that I think LSU is going to continue to feel for some time. And the news that came out of Syracuse earlier today kind of underscores another part of that disappointment. So Ricky Collins was beaten out by Steve Angeli for the starting job there at Syracuse. So if you remember the story, Collins was a four-star from Woodlawn and Baton Rouge, signed with LSU in 23, played in 5 games over his 2 years here. After the 24 season, he transfers to Syracuse. He goes through spring football. On April the 7th, head coach Fran Brown names Ricky Collins the starter coming out of spring, April the 7th. Well, 3 weeks later, Steve Angeli leaves Notre Dame, goes into the spring portal window, and commits and signs with Syracuse. So they go into fall camp, and now the two transfers, Collins and Angeli, are battling for the job. Well, Angeli's played in 21 games. He's a redshirt junior, so he's entering his 4th year. Played in 21 games at Notre Dame. You might remember in that game against Penn State, he went in an emergency backup spot, was 6 of 7, and had that scoring drive at the end of the first half. So this is a guy that's been in some leverage spots. He played the bowl game for Notre Dame as well. So a little bit more experience and just narrowly beat out Ricky Collins. So it'll be Steve Angeli starting for Syracuse in their opener against Tennessee in Atlanta. It'll be 2 transfers with Joey Aguilar winning the Tennessee job. It's disappointing for Ricky Collins, no doubt. And it still leaves LSU in a tough spot. I think the question is, and it's revisionist history now, you're crying over spilled milk, but would you rather be at a point where you had Michael Van Buren or Ricky Collins? Because both are in the same class. Maybe Collins has the higher upside. Van Buren's a guy that has the experience, having started 8 games a year ago in the SEC for Mississippi State. But no matter how it plays out, LSU's going to have to add 2 scholarship quarterbacks after the season because you're losing Nussmeier. And even if you get both Michael Van Buren and Colin Hurley back, and what's to say one of them would leave? I don't know anything in particular, but there's just always that possibility. Just like Collins left the year before, like Walker Howard left. AJ Swan left. It's a thing that happens. You're going to have to go add 2. You're going to hopefully flip a freshman in the class of 26, and you're probably going to add a transfer. It's just a matter of, is the transfer you add going to be, is it going to be AJ Swan, a backup that has some experience, or are you going to find Jaden Daniels? I don't mean a Heisman Trophy winner, but remember when you signed Jaden, he's a guy that had been a starter at the Power 4 level, and he came here and developed immensely over his 2 seasons in Baton Rouge. But are you going to get someone who's got 30 starts under his belt that's maybe moving into the SEC that could be a bridge to whatever might be next for you? And I don't know. Look, if Ricky Collins had stayed at LSU, maybe you never get Michael Van Buren. So there's all this chicken or the egg conversation. But it does go to show this is as precarious a spot as LSU's been in at quarterback, really since 2018, when Narcisse and McMillan both transferred, and you were left with nothing but Burrow and Miles Brennan, who they were trying to redshirt. So you had 1 scholarship quarterback in 2018. Kind of feels similar for 2026. We'll see how they manage the portal after the season.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Shawbills Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com, with locations all over South Louisiana. You're never far from a Shawbills dealer, and of course, they will always get you name brand tires at wholesale prices. Go to their website, ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. Right now, y'all, it's back to school made easy. Maybe you're bringing the kids into that carpool line and you realize the check engine light's on, the oil light's on, there's low tire pressure. You need something done to your vehicle, Shawbills can help. Go to ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com, with locations all over South Louisiana, and they will always work hard to get you the best price possible on the best tires on the road. Like right now, get up to $180 off when you use your Shawbills credit card on Firestone and Bridgestone tires. You can get all the deets at ShawBillsTire.com when you hit the promotions tab. It's all there for you. ShawBillsTire.com. Shawbills, we keep you rolling.